So, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur trying to escape the corporate rat race, or you're an existing entrepreneur who's struggling to make sales, I know that having an exciting value proposition is going to be key to your success. And luckily, that's what we're going to cover today on the training. I've been helping people start and grow businesses for over a decade, and I know that having the wrong value proposition or a boring value proposition is definitely a common stumbling block. So in this training, we're going to cover quite a bit. We're going to cover what happens if you pick the wrong value proposition. We're going to cover the qualities that you're going to need for an exciting value proposition, strategies that we can use to brainstorm to identify the problem you're going to solve for your customers or the result that you're going to get for them. Then we're going to go through real businesses and what their value propositions are, businesses that make 6 and 7 figures so you can model success. Then I'm going to give you a plug and play formula that you can use to create your own strong value proposition. Going to go over some common concerns and how to overcome them. And then we're going to do a workshop. Okay, so this is where we're going to brainstorm together. You're going to follow along with me, and you're actually going to come up with several value propositions during this training. And then at the end, we're going to use the process of elimination so I can help you narrow down those value propositions and pick the best one, and then I'll give you next steps that you want to do after that. So this is one of the many trainings that my former clients got access to when they hired me for several $1,000s to coach them and work with them, and you're going to get access to it for free, so I hope you like it. And this is part of my season 2 of my YouTube channel, and season 2 is all about launching your business and making that first sale. The next episode in this series is going to be how to create your minimum viable product or service. But this one is all about getting that value proposition. And because this is a workshop, I want you to turn off all distractions, get a pen and paper so you can really focus on this and come up with some winning ideas for your business. And please let me know in the comments below if you found this valuable, what you came up with, if you had any breakthroughs. I really love hearing about your success, and I just want you to succeed. So with that, let's dive in. Let's have some fun together, and it's time to make some progress. Welcome to creating an exciting value proposition. So here's what we're going to cover: the qualities of a good value proposition. I'm going to help you brainstorm the problem that you're going to solve, give you examples of 6 and 7 figure businesses and what they use for their value propositions, the formula for a good value proposition. And this is a workshop. So I'm going to be asking you some questions. You're going to be taking notes. You're going to be brainstorming value proposition ideas on this call, and then I'm going to help you narrow them down. Okay, so we're going to be doing work in this workshop, so be sure you have a paper and pencil. So what happens if you pick the wrong value proposition? Well, you're going to sound boring and generic. And if you want to hear some great examples of boring and generic value propositions, just go to your local Chamber of Commerce networking event and ask people what they do. And then you'll quickly want to turn around and probably walk the other way. Okay. People won't clearly understand what you do. You're going to lose your prospects to your competitors. You're going to repulse rather than attract your ideal prospects. You're not going to get referrals. And your marketing won't be effective because you're going to sound boring and generic or unclear. And so that's not good. Okay. So what are the qualities of a good value proposition? Well, it solves a specific problem or helps people achieve a specific result. And we're going to go into detail on what specific means. You're excited about becoming an expert on that problem or result. Okay. So you're excited about wanting to solve that for people. You would enjoy helping others achieve this for years to come. Don't think like, oh, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to just do it for a year or two, make some money, and then go do the thing that I really want to do. That almost never works. Just do the thing you really want to do at the beginning, right? Let's skip the middle step. You want to say like, hey, I really want to build this business over the next 5 or 10 years, and I'd be excited to do it. Okay, people want it solved rather than you saying that it needs to be solved. That's like going up to someone who's unhealthy and say, you need to eat your vegetables. Like, do you really think that that's going to be effective? Probably not. Okay. So ideally, like they're problem aware. So there are a few different types of people, right? People have a problem. They don't even know that they have it. Which, I mean, you could go after that market, but you're going to have to, your marketing is going to have to do much heavier lifting. Much easier is like somebody knows they have a problem already, so that's good. And what's even better is someone knows they have a problem, they're already looking for a solution. Okay, but they basically want to solve the problem. Not you lecturing to them and say, you need to solve this problem if they don't really care about it. It's a red alert problem. So red alert means, hey, your audience has this problem and they wanted it solved yesterday. They wanted it solved a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. And it's just really, really urgent. Like they feel the pain. They need it solved right away. They're willing to take action. Like they'll pay whatever it takes to solve it. That's kind of like a red alert problem. So your value proposition should be exciting, meaning if someone asks you what your company does and you're talking to your ideal prospect and you tell them what you do or you tell them your value proposition, they should be excited and want to learn more, right? If you're talking to your ideal prospect and you tell them what you do and they're like, oh, that's cool, like not a good value proposition. Okay, they should at least be asking, oh, tell me more about that, or oh, how do you do that, or like they should have some sort of, they should be interested. Okay, that's why it needs to be an exciting value proposition, and it's exciting for them, not for you, right? It should be exciting for your prospect. Your value proposition should let people know what makes you different or better than the competition. Okay, and luckily most of your competition has a pretty bad value proposition, so it's not going to be that hard, more than likely. But it will make you stand out. All right, so some things you want to think about is, what problem do you want to help people solve? Ultimately, that's what a value proposition is. That's what business is. It's like I help you solve a problem or I help you achieve a result, and you get money for that. Okay, so what is that ideal problem you want to solve for people? Or what result do you want to help people achieve? Right? People either are moving away from pain or they're moving towards pleasure. Basic human psychology. They're either moving away from pain or towards pleasure. So if you're targeting people that are moving away from pain and have a problem, what is that problem that you're passionate about helping them solve? Or if they're moving towards pleasure, what result do you want to help them achieve? Real easy way to do this is just ask your target market what their problems are. Okay, that's a great way to get a good list of potential problems that you could help people with. Same thing, ask your target market what they want to achieve. Right, so when you're doing market research, these are the kinds of questions you're asking, like, oh, what are your top problems? What do you want to achieve? If I can wave a magic wand and make your life better, what would that look like? What keeps you awake at night? Those kinds of questions. And by the way, you're also asking those same kinds of questions during your sales call. So when you're doing market research, when you're doing sales calls, if you do sales calls, um, you're going to find out this information, which will, guess what, make your marketing better. Okay, so it's important to know the answers to these things, but it's also good to do it so you can get clear on like what you want your business to do and what problem or result you want it to help with. What do other companies or influencers do that you'd love to do? Okay, so what you can get inspiration from your quote unquote competitors to see what problems they're doing, what results they're promising their people that they can achieve, what value propositions they're using in order to brainstorm ideas for what you want to do. Because if you have a successful competitor and their messaging is working and their value proposition is working and the results they're promising to people is working, then kind of makes your job a whole lot easier if you just kind of borrow that, you know? Then you just have to put your own spin on it. Okay. And something to keep in mind, there are just millions of business opportunities all over the place. You just have to kind of tune your ear to be aware of them. So anytime someone complains, that's a business opportunity. Every time you personally get angry, frustrated, stressed, that's a business opportunity because people will pay to get rid of anger, frustration, and stress. Whenever you see any kind of problem, like have you ever seen a problem and be like, oh, there's got to be a better way? There is, you know? And so whenever you have a problem, instead of getting upset about it, think like, oh, that's a business opportunity. I can make money solving that. Because if I have the problem, you can be sure that other people have that same problem. Okay. Focus on fixing the pains that people have. And there's basically three main areas that have made millions and millions and millions of dollars: health, wealth, and relationships. So if you're solving a problem in the category of health, wealth, or relationships, you're probably going to be able to have at least a six-figure business focusing on one of those big three categories. All right, so let's look at, you're like, Joey, enough theory, show me the goods. All right, so I went out and did a bunch of research, looked at, I'm always investing in myself and joining these groups and joining these programs and seeing what works for other people. So these are, real life value propositions that are working for other people that are making six, seven, or maybe even eight figures, depending. But this will give you an idea. All right. And these are all, different kinds of businesses, by the way, all kinds of different businesses. So we help female executives create work-life balance and prevent burnout without sacrificing success. We help law firms scale to seven figures so they can get off the revenue roller coaster and get more of the best new clients right now. We help parents with highly sensitive children eliminate daily meltdowns and improve their relationships with their children or with their child. We help healthcare companies boost employee engagement and patient satisfaction. We help horse owners. Um, let's see here. I guess there's a typo there. We help horse owners read horse body language to transform your problems with your horse into a dream partnership. We help stressed and overwhelmed Asian American executive women break through the bamboo ceiling, which is like a glass ceiling, but okay. We help professional singers get the big break with new performances and award-winning albums. We help women business owners go from struggling with cash flow to generating multiple six figures without overwhelm or working a ton of hours. We help tech managers upgrade their teams, careers, paychecks, and lives. We help busy professional women fall in love with who they are so they can attract big love. We help emerging African American leaders get into Ivy League grad schools and earn thousands of dollars in scholarships. We help speakers get more gigs and charge higher prices. We help parents raise their child's ACT score, win thousands in scholarships, and get acceptance letters from top universities. We help women real estate agents get an additional 5 to 6 closings per month like clockwork without doing old school tactics like door knocking. We help high-end consultants get more clients using Facebook ads. We help middle-aged women stop binge eating so they can have a healthy relationship with food. We help elite athletes get an extra 10% out of their performance. We help million-dollar e-commerce companies double their sales within a year. All right. So picture yourself like if you were at some kind of an event and you were one of these people and you heard you're one of these people with one of those problems and you heard someone say this, would that attract your attention? Would you maybe want to learn a little bit more? Right? I think the answer is yes. Okay. So we need to come up with something like that for you. So here's a formula that I created just for you guys. Okay. Here's the formula. Its basic version. I help blank, so I help certain target market, like narrow target market, achieve quantifiable result within a certain time frame. So I'm going to give you a minute here. Go ahead and think how you could do something like this. All right? I'm going to give you a minute. Try to come up with your own formula. Ready? Go. Okay, hopefully you came up with something. If not, you'll have more opportunity later. Now, I also added an expanded version where you can also add, so on top of what I just said, without their objection to what they don't want to do, so that they can blank their dream. Okay? Let's give an example. All right? So the full thing. So if I were a health coach or something, I help target market, which is skinny software developers, achieve some quantifiable result, in this case, add 10 pounds of muscle within the time frame, which is 8 weeks, without the thing they don't want to do, without feeling embarrassed at the gym, so that they can, whatever their dream is, be more confident and go on more dates. Okay? Now, you're not necessarily going to say that entire thing if somebody asks you that. You could, but this is just to get you clarity on like, who is it that you help? What do you help them with? And then, you can be really detailed, right? Because you need to know this stuff. Like whether or not you actually say this in real life, you need to know these things because, that's just good business. All right. Okay. Let's go over some common concerns that people may have. But I can't quantify my result. All right. So if you're in you may think, well, yeah, in business that's easy because you can just quantify the profit, but I'm in blah blah blah, right? I'm in something that isn't quantifiable. Maybe you're in, who knows? Let's just go through some examples. All right. So you may say like, well, I'm a life coach or something. Well, you could say your value proposition could be I'm going to help someone reduce their stress by 50% in 8 weeks. Is that quantifiable? Yeah. Is it an exact science? No, but you can still give an idea of something that you can shoot for, right? I'm sure you could make that even better. But just to give you an example of how you could quantify something, let's talk about relationships. Okay. Like, but Joey, how do you quantify relationships? How would you even do that? Well, you could say, my business, so my app, my coaching service, my product, whatever, it doesn't matter, will help you reduce the number of fights you're having with your spouse by 33% within the first 3 uses, for example. Okay, that's quantifiable. Or you could just talk about you could quantify your own results of your business. So I have a 90% success rate of saving marriages from divorce. So maybe the result isn't necessarily quantifiable, but your results are, how many customers, how many clients do you have? What percent got a result? You can quantify it from that way if you want. But how do you quantify happiness? What if you make people happier? Which again is not a very good value proposition because it's so generic. But let's just say you wanted to do that. How would you quantify that? Go ahead and think. I'm giving you 30 seconds right now. You're like, how could you quantify happiness? Right? 30 seconds, go. All right, I just came up with one example. I'm sure there's betters out there. You guys maybe even came up with a better one, but you could just say, I'll help you increase the number of times you smile every day by 300%, by 3x, you know? So, I mean, there's always a way you can quantify it. If you're like, oh, there's no way I can quantify this, there usually is. Ask people, like, just figure it out, okay? Because everyone wants a quantifiable result. Okay. But I don't know what problem I should focus on. Okay. Well, here are some things you want to think about. Again, ask your target market what their top problems are. Real simple. You're going to take these factors into consideration. All right. So here's a list. What are you most excited about solving? So let's say you came up with 10 possible problems that you can focus on in your business. Ask yourself, what are you most excited about solving? Because again, if you're just starting a business for the money, if you're like, oh, this is a problem, I can solve it, I can make money doing that, but I don't really care about that, You're probably going to self-sabotage along the way, or you're going to come up with excuses on why you don't want to work on your business that day, or you're just not going to make as money as quickly as you could, and your life's not going to be as happy as it could. So pick a problem you're excited about solving. What will your target market pay the most to solve? Again, I don't want you thinking about just the money, but hey, if you're excited about a problem and they're willing to pay the most for it, then that's kind of a win-win, right? So what are they willing to pay the most for? Which problems are most urgent for them to pay to solve? Not just what are the most urgent problems, but what are the most urgent problems that they're willing to pay to solve? And again, you may have to do some market research to find that out. What is easy for you to solve? Imagine this. Imagine you had a business where you helped someone solve a problem that was super urgent. They would pay you whatever amount of money it took you for to solve it for, and you could solve the problem in your sleep. Would that be a nice business? So what is that for you? Think about it. As Joe Polish, he wants to help people create ELF businesses, which means easy, lucrative, and fun. What is your easy, lucrative, and fun? Something to think about. What are you qualified to solve or want to become a master at? Again, let's say you have you really want to help solve this problem for the certain kind of people and get paid for it, but you don't really know how to solve that problem yet. Keyword there, yet. That's fine as long as you're willing to put in the work to become an expert at solving that problem. So you don't have to be an expert at it today to start a business, okay? But you do need to become an expert at it eventually over the next few weeks or months. And as long as you're willing to become an expert at it, then fine. You don't need to be an expert at it right now, but you do need to become one, and you should be excited about becoming an expert at it. What do you want to be known for over the next 5 to 10 years? What do you want to be known for over the next 5 to 10 years of your life? Because if you're starting a business, you should at least have a 5 to 10 year time horizon. So what would if people walked down the street and saw you and like, oh, you help blank kind of person solve blank kind of problem, and you'd be like, yeah, I do, and I love doing it. Like, what would that be for you? Okay, so let's pause here for a minute, go through these questions, write down ideas. Write down these ideas for you. Okay, so we'll put on 60 seconds here. Go ahead. All right, hopefully you came up with something good there. Next, problem being too generic. This is a very, very common problem that most entrepreneurs suffer from. Their target market's way too generic and broad, and their value proposition is way too generic and broad. Problem, right? You're gonna struggle with your marketing. You're gonna struggle making sales. You're gonna struggling where to even know where to start doing your marketing. It's not going to resonate with people. So many problems when you're being too generic. So most of the time, the problem that entrepreneurs are trying to kind of market and solve is too broad and vague. But there's often exceptions. But some of the time, that's actually okay. And I know I'm going to kind of reverse what I just have been talking about here, but I think it's important that you have the full picture. Okay. You can have a broad value proposition with a very narrow target market, or a very specific value proposition with a broad target market. All right. So let's say like life coach, right? Super generic. Like just saying that, yeah, I'm a life coach is almost always a bad idea because it's super vague, it's super generic, and you're going to have trouble. But if you were to say something like, I'm a life coach for dentists who are about to retire, Well, that could work because the target market is just super specific. Dentist about to retire. So your value proposition or how you help people, being a life coach, is super super vague and generic, but because the target market is so specific that it could work, right? Saying you help everyone is almost always a bad idea, right? Because your target market is way 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 too generic, way too broad, right? People want a specialist, not a generalist. So saying you help everyone is almost always a bad idea. But in some cases it might work. So if you were to say, I help everyone get out of speeding tickets who are driving 10 to 20 miles per hour over the limit while traveling through the state of Georgia, that could work because the problem you solve is so specific that you could have, like, yeah, I help everyone with that. And people would believe you because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because it's just such a specific problem in a specific state with a specific mile per hour range and a very specific problem. Okay. So sometimes you can be super generic and vague on the value proposition, but you better have a super, super specific target market if you're going to do that. Okay. And just for clarity, saying you help everyone with everything is a bad idea 100% of the time. That is never a good idea. That it's never going to work. Okay. Just to make sure we're clear on that. All right. It's take action time, folks. So we are going to brainstorm a list of possible value propositions for your business. Get excited. Write down every idea that comes to mind, even the bad ideas. Okay, we're not filtering here. We're just going to write everything down. This is a brainstorming session. We don't want to put any restrictions on our brain. Then we're going to use the process of elimination to narrow down the list. And think of your value proposition like dating rather than marriage. Okay, you can always change your value proposition later. Okay, but you can't make money until you pick one. So you have to pick one, pick the best one. Like if you have just a list of mediocre ideas, pick the best one and go with that and at least get started on the process so you can start to get feedback and maybe try to make some sales. And if you can't make any sales because your value proposition isn't any good, you're going to find that out pretty quickly once you go try to sell it. They're going to be like, that sounds confusing, or that seems really vague, or I don't think I need that. You may think like, oh, I failed as an entrepreneur. No, that's part of the discovery process. Like hearing negative feedback from your customers makes you a better entrepreneur because you know that you're on the wrong track. Because if you never start, you don't know if you're on the right track or the wrong track. And guess how much money you're going to make in that case? Zero. So as long as you're taking steps, as long as you're making progress, even if you think you're solving the most important problem in somebody's world, and you go try to sell them a solution to solve that very important problem, and you find out that that's not a very important problem at all, and they don't even care about it, that's a good thing because now we know, right? This isn't like just wake up one day and make $1 million. There's a process that you have to go through. So let's not overanalyze it. Let's just pick one and go. People who just go always make more money than the perfectionists. Okay. So grab a paper and pencil if you don't have one already. Hopefully you already have one. Put your brainstorming hat on. Okay. If you haven't used it in a while, dust it off. You might have to dust off that brainstorming hat, but you're going to put it on now. Remember, there are no bad ideas. Write down everything. So here we go. So let's just start off. Write down all the ideas you have for your value proposition right now. Okay, I'm going to put 60 seconds on. Just whatever you've got, just write it down. Go. All right. Next, what accomplishments are you most proud of? Give you 30 seconds here. What accomplishments are you most proud of? Write it down. Okay, next. What are you an expert at? What are you an expert at? Write it down. And some people get hung up on the word expert. Basically, what do you know a lot about that other people don't? So if you don't consider yourself an expert, more than likely you probably are. So just what do you know a ton about that other people don't? What results have you helped others achieve? What results have you helped others achieve? Write it down. What are you really, really passionate about? What are you really, really passionate about? Write it down. What do people ask your advice about? What do people, what are they already asking your advice about? Write it down. What do other people consider you an expert in? What do other people consider you an expert in? Write them down. What is easy for you to do that is hard for others? What is easy for you to do that is hard for others? What companies would you love to be like? What companies would you love to be like? And what problems do they solve? Or what results do they help other people get? What results do they help other people achieve? So, what companies would you love to be like? Write it down. What pain can you help eliminate from others? What pain can you help eliminate from others or for others? Either one. What results can you help others obtain? What results can you help others obtain? What are the most common problems you see that people want help with? What are the most common problems you see that people want help with? Write them down. What problems have you personally overcome in the past? What problems have you personally overcome in the past? Write them down. What makes people jealous of you? What are people jealous of you about? Go ahead and write that down. All right. Here's another thing to think about. How can you help, or how would you like to help people with the following areas? Their health. What problems or results would you like to help people with in their health? Go ahead and write it down. Okay, fitness, same thing. How would you like to help someone with a problem or achieve a result related to fitness? Write it down. Their finances. How would you like to help people with a problem or help achieve a result related to their finances? Go ahead and write them down. Their career. How would you like to help someone with problems in their career or achieve a certain result in their career? Go and write that down. Their family. How would you like to help alleviate a problem related to their family or help them achieve a certain result with their family? Go and write it down. Love. How can you help someone with a problem related to love or achieve a result related to love? Write it down. With their relationships. How can you help them solve a problem in their relationships or achieve a result in their relationships? Go and write it down. Time. How can you help someone save more time, create more time? What problems can you help people solve with related to time or results to achieve related to time? Go and write them down. How can someone help make them more money? How can you help someone make them how can you help someone or business, a person or a business, make more money? Go ahead and write it down. How can you help someone or a business save more money? Go and write them down. What problems can you help people solve in their business or what results can you help people achieve related to business? Go and write that down. Someone's mental health, their mindset. How can, what problems would you like to solve related to someone's mindset or mental health, or what results would you like to help someone achieve related to their mindset or mental health? Go and write them down. All right, great job. Very, very good job. So, good job coming up with all those ideas. You should have come up with a list that have many potential areas for you to explore in terms of problems you would like to solve or results you would like to help people achieve. Okay? Now we're going to go through eliminate these, but I want you to make sure you're checking your beliefs. Your belief should be that yes, you can help these people. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can create a successful business. And yes, they will pay you money to help them. Okay, if those aren't your beliefs, it's time to change your beliefs and make sure that you are believing those things. So now it's time to do some process of elimination. All right, we want to narrow these down. So go ahead and look through your list here of different problems and results, different kinds of possible value propositions. Hopefully you came up with quite a few. And you want to narrow them down to your top 3 to 5. And you want to eliminate them based on that previous list of considerations, which I will remind you of now. What are you most excited about solving? What will they pay the most to solve? Which problems are most urgent for them to pay to solve? What is easy for you to solve? What are you qualified to solve or excited to become a master at? What do you want to be known for over the next 5 to 10 years? All right. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on here. Okay. Give you enough time. Look through this list. Try to narrow it down to your top 3 to 5 based on kind of the list of considerations here. So 2 minutes. Go ahead. All right, good job. Good job on narrowing down those possible lists of value propositions. So hopefully you've got it down to your top 3 to 5. Now I want you to make these into a result and make them more specific and more quantifiable. All right, you want to put these value propositions into the formula we talked about earlier, right? I help blank target market achieve blank quantifiable results within blank amount of time. Okay. And if you want, you can do, without their objection of what they don't want to do so that they can achieve what they ultimately want to achieve. Okay. So with these top 3 to 5 that you have, try to force them into this formula. I'll give you another 2 minutes to do that. And let's see what you come up with. Okay. I'll give you 3 minutes actually. So try to take your top 3 to 5 ideas and try to put them in to this formula. Okay, you've got 3 minutes. Go ahead. Okay, good job. Good job. Hopefully you feel like you're making some good progress here. Now I want you to research for homework. I want you to research your competitors to see what their value propositions are. Perhaps you can get some inspiration from them, borrow some, we'll see. Then you want to interview your target market, right? You want to ask them about their pain and pleasure. What are they moving away from and what do they want to move towards? Okay, their pain and their pleasure. Ask them which value proposition they would be most excited about paying for, right? You just came up with 3 to 5. Ask your target market, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business focusing on one of these 3 to 5 things. What do you think? Let's get their input. And then you're going to narrow it down to your one value proposition. Okay? So good luck with that, right? Hopefully you've made a lot of good progress today. Maybe you need to watch this a couple more times. Maybe you need to watch some of the other trainings and come back to this. Maybe you need to think about it. But this is how you do it, right? You get really clear on who you're going to help and what you're going to help them with and what specific quantifiable result you can help them with. And then they pay you money to do it. It's really that simple. It's that simple. All right. So good luck. And I'm rooting for you. Okay. Bye-bye.